Are you prepared to transform your well-being? I'm Sanjay Raja. My mission is to challenge our perspectives on food, fitness, and overall health. I own a successful nutrition and fitness business based in Orlando, Florida. And through this experience, I've learned that there's no one-size-fits-all solution. From creating delicious and healthy recipes, to training elite athletes, and even writing the book, The Food Talk. I've accumulated a wealth of knowledge, but here's the exciting part. There's always more to discover. That's why I'm embarking on a journey to connect with leading experts, unveiling the secrets to a happier, healthier life. Together, let's explore innovative ways to enhance our well-being. This is Recipe for Wellness. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Recipe for Wellness podcast. So we've interviewed a number of guests from season 1, which I'm super excited about. We're launching January 2025 now, but that doesn't mean we can't talk to people who are going to be on season 2 of the show. So as everyone knows, we are in pre-production of season 2, and this individual here was interesting how we met. It's a good little story. So I'll kind of give a little bit of background. That is, I was invited to go to the Emmys gifting suite in Los Angeles about 2 or 3 months ago. And it was just a place to network and kind of hobnob with people. And I normally don't go to these things, but I was in LA at the time doing some voiceovers and meeting some people. And I said, yeah, we'll go. And I got the invite, so I was super grateful for it. And so I met Sonya here, and we started talking. She's a Florida native, just like me. So it's good to meet somebody from Florida. And she kind of talked to me about what she does. And I can't do it justice, honestly. She does a lot, and it's very helpful to people. She's a transformational coach in so many ways. So first of all, welcome to the show, Sonya.
Thank you so much.
And no worries. Yeah. And second, tell the audience, what is it that you do? What is your official title, and what is it that you do?
Well, thank you for having me, Sanjay. I'm so excited to be here. And I'm Sonya McDonald. I'm a board certified transformational life coach. I'm also a registered nurse. I've had 30 years nursing experience background. I've been writing some books, and I'm also a speaker. And what I do is I really want to help empower men and women to really conquer their fears and their limiting beliefs, and to rise above the overwhelm, and to live confidently with the life they're given authentically, and to really just help them overcome any fears they have and any mindset blocks.
Awesome.
And
Awesome.
Healthy lifestyle choices, because that's what really kind of brought me on my journey was, health issues with my autoimmune.
So that's a great starting point for us. And that is, I always talk to coaches and, people in specific specialties. And there's a moment in their life where they decided, this is what I want to do. And this is the reason why I want to change lives. So it sounds like you have a really interesting backstory. Can you kind of share that with us?
Sure. Well, in my early 30s, I got diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis and fibromyalgia, and it was really, really debilitating, caused me a lot of anxiety and stress, and I was physically really sick. Working as a nurse for, I think it was over like 20 years at the time. When my daughter was born, it just really took over my body. Just hard to get out of bed, hard to just be feeling like myself. And I was still working as a nurse and still going through, just struggling. And about 4 years ago, I ended up in the hospital, fighting for my life. Really, really scary time. It was when COVID, it was back in March of 2020. It was when COVID first came out, and they didn't know, they did not know like all about it yet. It was like very new. And I was like one of the first people to end up in the hospital. Had 105 fever, so just rushed myself to the hospital because I have heart and asthma as well. And so I had some cardiac conditions. And so it was like really, they put me in a double isolation room. I wasn't able to see my family or talk to anybody. I was in there for like 7 days, just really fighting hard. And when I was in there, I was like really, I just was really finding myself with God, and just fighting to try and get out of there. And in that moment, I just was like, I got to do something different with my health. When I was able to get released from the hospital, because it was it was just, I was still eating pretty well and doing things, but I just, with all the medications I've been on, like I was on 16 different medications for the rheumatoid, for, the steroids and the infusions and a
Hmm.
lot of things. And that's what put my immune system so low that I catch like a little cold, and it was, I was working
Yeah.
as a nurse and I would catch something and I would be out for days. So I just stopped working as a nurse. And when I got out of the hospital, I literally just decided to just start looking at like more holistic approaches to doing
Hmm.
things to help my body. And I came across it's funny, I came across Tony Robbins and went to one of these UPW. It's a Unleash the Power Within. It's a program
Hmm.
that I went to in person and basically just learned a lot about holistic functional eating, and just started doing celery juicing, which I knew about the vegetable, but I didn't know
Mm.
for my inflammation how much it could really change. So I committed to, it's been over 4 years now, every day drinking that in the mornings, and it's just completely taken me off the steroids and a lot of the medicines. I'm still on a few, but I'm doing so much better. And I wanted to like help other people to know that not just the food, but just the mindset and so many things that I've put into play.
So I want to, yeah, so I interrupt you. I'm sorry, but this is an interesting thing that kind of popped up in my head while you're talking, which is your background is in nursing. Is that correct?
Mhm.
Right?
Yes,
So you saw patients on the other side, which
very much.
was they were in bed, they were ill, they had a number of complications, and then you became one of those patients,
I
right?
became one. Mhm.
Exactly. So tell me that shift is like getting into the lives of these patients, and now you're one of them. How did that really change you?
I was always such a positive, upbeat person. It really changed me into like just not as motivated. I was just very
Mm,
sad. My
yeah.
literally my hands, they looked like this. When I first got diagnosed in my 30s, I couldn't even open my hands. I'm used to like skiing and running and swimming and being really active. So it took like my mind wanted to do so much more than my body would let me. So it was a very frustrating time because I knew I was made for more to do, and it was like limiting me. So it just kind of took over I wanted to do more things than I was able to do. So I felt for the patients when they're just like, why aren't you doing this? And why aren't you doing, and they're trying. And it's like, you don't really realize
Hmm.
how much your mind and your body, when it's not allowing you to do things, how it can just take over the depression, the
Yeah.
anxiety, and
So
just feeling really kind of lost with that.
so how did you overcome the mental barriers? Because, we've talked to so many people about overcoming either disabilities, overcoming tragedies. How did you overcome your own body to get to this place now?
When I started studying the life coaching and just really learning about
Hmm.
myself, and in this Tony Robbins world, I literally just learned that I'm not my disease. I have different things. I mean, I might have anxiety, I might have, RA or fibromyalgia, but it doesn't define who I am. And I didn't let that be the victim mentality of feeling like I have this, so I can't do this. I started really fighting
Hmm.
back with my, emotional regulation and my mindset of just, this is just a part of me, but it does not mean, it does not define me. My limitations do not play into like who I am or who I'm going to become. So I kind of just reset that programming in my brain of how I'm going to, wake up. And even if I'm feeling a little bad, I can push through that. And just looking at all the things I'm grateful for. I did a lot of gratitude work, and the gratitude and
Hmm.
journaling really just that's what really completely shifted me. Being out in nature and just really appreciating all the gifts that I've been given, and focusing on the things that were good and not focusing on
Hmm.
what I couldn't do. And it took me out of a lot of the pain. And the pain, I feel like, is just so much, the mental part of it, really, the body really speaks to you. And whenever I would have something going on, I was able to like just not let that sit with me. And I would feel the pain kind of like cut in half, like I was like a level
Yeah.
8 or 9 all the time. And I feel like I'm down to like a 1, 2. Some days it's a little more, but I can do things to help myself get through that. So I don't let it just basically define how I'm going to feel. So it's been
Well,
really,
science tells us that when we're in a positive frame of mind and laughter actually boosts our immune system for about 8 hours.
yes.
And it also tells us that if we're in depression, sadness, or in any sort of rumination, which is basically dwelling on something that's super negative,
Mhm.
it also depresses our immune system. So, which is amazing. So we literally have the power to boost or lower our immune system just by the
Right.
power of thought, right?
Yeah.
So this kind of leads me to my next question, which is, so we were able to overcome all this, which is fantastic, by the way. It's a great testament to you. So what made you decide maybe that life coaching was the route you wanted to take?
Well, I love being a nurse and I love helping people, not being able to go back into like that, the, 12, 14-hour shifts and all the different things with the way my immune system goes when I overtax my body, just lifting patients and all the different things I
Hmm.
was doing in the ER and different surgical nursing. And I worked in a lot of different areas, but it was just emotionally exhausting my body. So I wanted to help people, but I knew there was another way. So the coaching was like me giving back, from what I've been through. I want to help people to know that they're not their disease. They can still have a wonderful life. They can have a wonderful career. There's other ways they can, be helpful in everything in this world. So I wanted to like help them, to show them how they can
Hmm.
really learn how to, live well with any limitations, not just limitations, but just any challenges they have. And that makes me feel like, I used to, work in psychiatric and different parts of nursing too, but it's like so much of the mind. So I want to help people because we all get stuck. We all get
So
stuck.
this is a great thing because it was funny. We just moved. Me and the kids just moved to a new place,
Mhm.
closer to their school. So we've been going through that. But there was we were staying in an apartment, at the time, probably a while back now, and I saw a car, and the car had a sticker on it. The sticker said "psychic and life coach" at the same time, right? So they're advertising their service as psychic and life coach. And the reason why I bring that up is because you hear a lot of that. I'm a life coach. I'm a life coach, right? And it's just this ubiquitous term that gets thrown around.
Mhm.
And so, where does, like, you being an established life coach, what kind of training did you go through to really get those credentials to be able to really affect people's lives? Because in my business, for example, like anybody who's got abs thinks they're a trainer. That's
Mhm.
what they think, right? And
Right.
there's a lot of bad trainers out there, right?
Right.
So mine's based on science, grounded in the fact that I was an athlete, work with so many different people. We've got great success stories. So we've got the training, I've got a medical background just like you. So how do we differentiate a life coach from a true life coach? How do we do that?
Oh, I feel like, you really got to take the time into looking into a good program school, not just doing something for
Hmm.
like 10 minutes on the internet. Like it's not like some quick little fix. You got to take the time to really study the mind and all the things that are incorporated. I went through Robbins Madonna's training center that was it was online, but it was through San Diego, California, and it's Tony Robbins and Chloe Madonna's, who's a psychologist. So they're very well known, and they do all the training, and it's very encompassing. It took about over a year to do the actual training program, and then I had to go
Hmm.
for the boards to get tested. So that was like a whole nother, a few months of studying to prepare for that. So it just kind of
Yeah.
puts you in a whole, uh, all encompassing of, knowing so much about all the different areas. So you're not just, you're helping so many different kinds of people, not just
Hmm.
limited to one area.
So talk to me about kind of what people come to you right now. And if you could maybe think of like one or two anecdotes about how you've changed somebody's life, like what kind of people come to you and what do you do? What's kind of the steps to help transform their life being a life coach?
Okay. Well, I guess I'll go with the latest person, maybe the latest couple of clients. Recent one coming in, just really unhealthy lifestyle habits, helping with
Hmm.
their daily routine and their daily habits to help them to quit smoking. And to
Wow.
really, and that was a really big thing, just to really kind of help to get over that, like, I can't do this. And it's like, just because people feel like they have an addiction, they can never um, learn how to, change that. But there's so much in the mind. It's so powerful. It's just learning the steps and how to go through that. So we
Hmm.
just kind of, had to work really on the mindset, and just really why are you doing this, and like how, and really starting to get to know them, and like the reasons they, like any of us would, do things. So it's a lot of, trust and getting to know somebody at the beginning and really learning about them. Because if we don't
Hmm.
get through the past, it's like you can't just go forward. There's, you got to do the work. So it's just like in people in therapy, it's different than therapy, but you still have to do, take accountability for that and do the work with your client to help them to recognize what patterns and what things are causing them to do this. So it's just, and
Okay.
then replacing, and then kind of finding different hobbies or different things that you can replace, healthy. So it's making healthy choices. It's eating, if it's, just different things, with a new job or something that can help get you out of where you're at. So it's really just giving new goals and structure. And I like to help people kind of
So
like
what's
do that.
what's the average amount of time that you work with clients? Is it an ongoing thing? Because I know in my industry, it's like I've worked with some clients, I've seen the birth of their children, seen them grow. They just want to
Mhm.
keep working with me. And then I've got other clients that's like I got what I needed and we gave them the tools and they just kind of move on. So how
Yeah.
long on average do people work with
I would say it starts at like a 3 month, starting point, but I would say usually it's like 6 months, sometimes a
you?
year, you
Okay.
know, but usually it can kind of go between 3 and 6 months is kind of like the average to kind of get where we want to kind of get working towards. But before that 3 month, I'd say it's too short because people have
Mm,
to really kind of do that work first. You can't just do it all on a one time thing, like one and done. It's not like that, usually that like those magical, like let's do this quick. You got to do the work and it takes,
right.
consistency. So I think it's just, getting that built up at the beginning of the process with the client. So
So how do you hold them accountable? Because that's a big deal in my industry, which is holding people accountable, which is I signed up a number of clients, recently on nutritional plans, for example,
Mhm.
and they'll come back to me and I'm very sympathetic to people. I get it, but I'm very real with them too. I sometimes have to have the come to Jesus moment with them, as I like to say,
Mhm. Yes.
right? Which I just recently just had one where the late, this woman I was working with, she was saying, I've done everything and I haven't lost any weight. And I said, have you really done everything?
Right.
Have you done everything? And she said, I swear. I said, well, have you done the simple things? Do you drink enough water? Do you get up on time in the morning? Do you eat breakfast? Well, I do that. Okay. All right. So I always tell
Mhm.
people, let's control the controllables, which is these are things you can control.
Right.
Sometimes your work schedule you cannot control. Sometimes if you have families and something happens, you can't control that. But if you
Right.
focus on the controllables, you can at least make a little bit of progress, right? So how
Mhm.
do you hold people accountable? Because that's an uncomfortable conversation sometimes. But
It
if
is.
we're not doing our job, if we don't do
Right.
that.
What I have to, and that's fun, it's really getting started with the client is like, hey, you gotta commit to this. Cause if you're gonna, we can't, you gotta do
Mm-hmm.
the work. Cause if you're not gonna start doing this, then it's not gonna help you. So I think it's just really getting that foundational understanding. Like you can't feel like I'm not doing my part if you're not, they have to do their part. But I usually would check in. Um, I'll send emails. I like to do like check-ins. Like every week, like in between, or if it's like if we're meeting once a week or if we're meeting every other week, I try and like we'll send like little notes or just like little things to kind of cheer them on, like be their little background cheerleader, making sure did you, just checking in that are you doing this? So kind of like I give them like a checklist of like if it's their eating habits, and then like I'll check back in maybe with a recipe or something, like here's some other ideas of some things you can eat, just to kind of like encourage them, along the way. And
Mm-hmm.
they're allowed to like, connect with me that way as well, just to kind of like keep that little bit of communication besides just the 1 hour, that we meet either Zoom or in person. So it's just nice to have that little bit of somebody kind of just checking in or feeling
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, I better do this. Cause it's like sometimes you just forget, we're all human and we just kind of, or make excuses. So just kind of trying to let them know like, hey, I'm having to do this, and letting them know that we as people have the same things, we're real and we go
Mm-hmm.
through the same things. So they're not feeling alone, when
Right.
they're doing.
Right. Yeah, so one part of my job is counseling too, because you get to know the intimate details of their life. I
Mhm.
hear every story out there. So it's one of those things where nutrition, health is so personal to people because we're always judged by it, right? We're always judged, our outward appearance, but internally, so many of us are fighting these battles,
Mhm.
and we don't want to share that. So it's nice to be able to talk to somebody and just not being judged by them. So
Yes.
think about some of the clients you've worked with, right?
Mhm.
And you talk about you've worked with them on the health and wellness side, you've talked to them about the mental side. What's been the most transformational story you can share with us of somebody who went from a really low point in their life to now they're thriving? Can you think of a client where that you've taken them on this really long transformational journey?
Yeah, I have a client I'm just thinking about really just lost, it's more of a, lost a family member and was just super like in depression and not wanting to
Hmm.
like do their just taking care of themselves, like self-care, and so, which is
Yeah.
so important, right? And
Oh
just
yeah.
like really help them to start believing in themselves again. And it was just really awesome to see them like, going from like I can't even like make my bed to like, I mean, just doing all these little simple steps to like finally, with all the clutter and things, to just finally start getting
Hmm.
things like, oh wow, and like sending me like I got this whole room cleaned, or I got this whole thing done, and just um getting things done for their family again. It was just nice to see them kind of transforming into like not care, just feeling like it was all, done. Lost a sibling, and then to see them
Hmm.
actually coming back around and starting to take care of themselves, taking care of things. It was just like beautiful to, it took like about 6 months, but it was just nice to see them, sharing with me like all the things they're accomplishing now, and writing, making a card business, and doing different, starting to do different things with their life, as they're older. They're like in their 60s now.
Yeah.
It's really cool to see, the care that came back into them, because I was, just giving them encouragement, and giving them steps to show them little like 15 minutes a day things to do, instead of like all
Hmm.
the overwhelm that we can do when we're putting too much and then we just get stuck. It's like just taking little baby steps and then encouraging them to keep taking more. And that was like
Yeah.
really, really cool to see. That was just one of the ones that just stuck with me right now. Just,
Oh
you know,
wow.
getting back.
So there's I've seen a lot of different life coaches out there. It's a crowded space,
Yes.
and part of our job on this show is to kind of cut through all the BS that's out there and really disrupt the way people are thinking about health, wellness, mental health. What really differentiates what you do as opposed to other life coaches out there? What really kind of makes you stand out? Because you're obviously very successful at what you're doing, and you've been around doing this for a long time. You've got the nursing background, so you've got all these great credentials. So, what really differentiates what you do with people versus other life coaches?
I think it's just being really, being really caring, and really invested in your clients, like really wanting to get
Hmm.
to know them, and to really not be just out for the business, or just trying to get,
Hmm.
but really wanting to, just helping one person and seeing what you can give back to them from what you've been through. It's just giving your heart. I think just the kindness in your heart to other people, and giving back. And I feel like when they can feel that and trust that, I feel like you have like a really nice connection, and that's more meaningful than like how many clients you have, or like, how they're trying to
Yeah.
do all this social media, like to the point where it's just like too much noise. I just want to, each person to
Yes.
feel really heard, really seen, and just like, it's really authentic, I guess. And that's the difference with some things, where you just feel like it's just people wanting to do it like any job, or they're just like, get it done, and don't have the real compassion for it. So that's what I feel
No, so
like.
it's a good point because I've been asked, why don't you scale more? Meaning see
Mhm.
more clients, do all that. And I see on the internet all these different programs for weight loss and all this stuff. And it's funny, I'm not going to name any names, but people know who they are. And I've seen people go through these programs, and I've gotten some of these clients after they've gone through these programs, spent hundreds of thousands of dollars literally on this kind of
Yeah.
stuff. And what it comes back to was I was a faceless number,
Mhm.
and he just gave me something kind of cookie cutter, and it was very generalized. It wasn't specific to my needs. So they come back and I see this.
Mhm.
And it's interesting because we could scale on a large way. There's so many ways to do it, but the intimacy with the client, meaning you lose
Mhm.
that one-on-one because then they just become a number. There's not enough hours in the day, to deal with
Right.
everybody. Like when I see a client, for example, we don't just talk about health and wellness. We
Right.
talk about what's going on in their personal life. What's holding
Yes,
them back? What's holding them back, right? We talk about a lot of different things. And when they leave super energized, super positive. But more importantly, I don't want to keep you on as a client for life, meaning I want to
right.
give you the tools and then go about your life. And that means I did my job,
Yes,
right? And so you see
yes,
all these other programs. I'm sure you see it in your industry, which is people just want the reoccurring business. They just want to keep going. But we're not doing them any favors. We're not setting them up for success if we keep them dependent on us, right?
exactly. Yes.
Right.
You want
So
to, yes, very much so.
yeah, so think about that. And that is my question to you now is when you get a client and they come in through your door,
Hmm.
you kind of have like this 3 month kind of minimum time frame where you're like, we've set the groundwork.
Hmm.
So how often do clients come back to you and say, I still need some more help? And what is the incidence of the time where they leave and they come back and say, I'm doing so well? Do you get feedback? Because feedback's really important.
I haven't had anybody come back to need
Hmm.
more yet. I mean, so I think we're doing
Right.
pretty
Yeah.
well. I mean, they've just been more just letting, kind of coming back in, and we'll just connect and just telling me how they're, doing. Haven't had any like new problems. I think just giving them the tools that kind of
Hmm.
just, well, like if even if like we're in, even as humans, we have different problems that we have those tools to learn how to like do a new problem. So I think it's just giving that off the bat, those mindset, and just a lot of tools that they haven't had to really have to come back, but they've been doing really well. So it's been really positive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes
So
they'll want to stay a little longer, but it's just more for the connection. And I think just that it hasn't been like just, where we're not getting any more progress. So then I feel like when it's time, it's like, you gotta still, you can still stay connected and check in with your, past clients, but it's like nice to see them. That's what we
yeah.
like our kids growing up. We want to see them fly and grow that, and do all the things they're supposed to do. We don't want to keep them like dependent, right? So it's nice to see the, you know.
Yeah. So without, of course, naming names, but like I work with a number of high profile clients, athletes, CEOs of companies. So I deal with a lot of those different types of people. And what I always tell all my clients is that what you see on TV a lot of times is that somebody's fighting this internal battle, but they're keeping it
Mhm,
together, right?
mhm,
So you see these people who are really well put together and just put on this really just fantastic front. But I've worked with some of these people, and
mhm.
internally they're battling a lot of issues,
Yeah.
right? And so it's about looking up to them, not so much as, oh my God, they're a role model, but looking up to them and saying, you know what? I'm sure they're dealing with some issues, but they're finding the steps to make
Mhm.
progress just to get better every day.
Right,
Right?
because yeah, in the end of it, we're all in this we're all, humans connected. And I feel like sharing our stories and letting people see
Hmm.
us being real, like even though we can look like, wow, they've got this together, they're doing that, but it's like this is all the work, and it still takes work. And when people know that realness about people, I think it makes you feel a lot more normalized, and you don't have to put these masks on to like,
Yeah.
we all done that before, like, or just feel like everything's happy, but we're like, yet, like you said, fighting a lot of things. So just being more authentic to ourselves, and being more true to that, so that our clients can also feel that that's okay, and we don't have to have it all together all the time. I think
Yeah.
that's really
Yeah.
important to feel that, and that's what I like to let people know, that that's part of the whole process of this life that we're in. you know
Yeah, being honest with yourself, I think it starts there. Is where am I at? Where do I need to go and how do I get there, right? So, one of the beautiful parts about this show is that we get to meet so many different people from walks of life that I never would have ran into unless I traveled around and did this. And so, we interviewed you. You were a great fit for the show because you have such a great and unique message. You're helping so many people, and we want to make sure people can connect with you, give you a wider audience. So we always ask people on our show, what is your recipe for wellness? Meaning, what are some steps people can take right now? Because right now we're coming off an election that drained everybody mentally. Number one.
Mhm.
Number
Mhm.
two, COVID is still around. You've got cold and flu season. That's not going away. So those things are still there. And believe it or not, during this time of year, people are the most stressed out. Holidays are the time of the year where you're supposed to be relaxed, you're supposed to
Yeah.
enjoy, but it's actually stressing people out to no end, right? So you've got
Mhm.
all this going on. So, Sonia, what would be your recipe for wellness in terms of three things people can do right now to kind of take the pressure off them so they can lead a more productive life?
I would say just get out and get moving. Even when you're
Hmm.
feeling super like stressed or whatever's going on internally or, with family or just the holidays, just get out like for a little short walk. Just being out in
Hmm.
nature, it really grounds me. Or just like if you don't have the ocean or if it's cold out, if you're like in a place, just moving, just movement is like such a key thing for our minds and our bodies to do with like, music, nature, meditation, like listening to some healing music, that really just kind of just gets you like in a different mindset. And then just get a journal and like a gratitude journal, or even if you don't have that, just writing three things down every day that you really can focus on that you're grateful for.
Yeah.
Really just can shift a lot of the pressures of like what really is important. That's like really putting things in perspective and not and focusing on what what is going good instead of focusing on like what's stressing us out, because what we focus on is what we're gonna be
Hmm.
going towards. So I think just really trying to like shift that part of our day. And I would say just some daily routines like setting your morning time and your bedtime, just some little things like that just make such a difference. Just kind of keeping your body consistent with like a daily routine of like when you wake up and when you go to sleep. Just getting enough sleep is like so important.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
I mean,
know.
just one little
Yeah.
thing off. I mean, even if we can't get enough, but just trying to like keep it the similar time for just those, daily habits. Just make what you're putting in your body, just think about that, like what you're actually eating, just trying to, if you're not eating, the holidays are coming, you're eating more sweets or things that aren't making
Hmm.
you feel good, then just cutting that back and trying to like really think about what you're putting in. I can't eat the sugars or anything because I'll actually physically have physical pain. I'll go from like a 2 to a 10 if I have like a piece of,
Yeah.
I mean, it affects me so quickly that I have to just, and it's like, yeah, we can want those things for the quick moment, but then it's like, how long is it going to make you feel bad? So I think you just kind of got to weigh it out and really look at like, healthier habits that can make you have more energy. Because when,
Yeah.
any thing can give you, drinking more water is like so huge. Even if you just increase your water a little bit every day, that's like
Hmm.
gonna, make such a difference in your and how you're feeling. Because we all feel, people get headaches and feeling dehydrated and they don't realize they're not, why are you drinking any water? Oh no. I'm like, they forget. And I'm like, well, that's important. So
Well, I just had this conversation yesterday with a client, and that is breathe. Just
yeah,
don't forget to breathe, right?
that's a big one.
And
That's key.
so, yeah, right. So I do a lot of breath work with people. I do breath coaching with people, and it's been very transformational because
Sure.
anxiety is us thinking too far in the future. Depression is living in the past, and being present, right? Being in
Is
the
that right?
moment. And that's where we center ourselves through breath. And it's so funny. It's like we walk, talk, do these things every day, but we forget to breathe. We
Yes.
hold all this tension in. And when I started breathing, that changed everything for me. Changed my mindset. It changed a lot of things. Like negatives became positives, failures became
Sure.
opportunities. And I would
Mhm.
say life happens for us, not to us,
Right.
right? Yeah,
So true.
because it's happening for a reason. And that is, we could just choose to see it for what it is and react accordingly, or we could say we're a victim and live in that victim mentality. So
Right.
I think your story is a true case of I could be stuck in this hospital bed saying, why me, why me, why me? Or
Mhm.
I can figure out another path for myself,
Right. And
right?
still help and feel, like we have something, we have a purpose here, and we're here to serve
Yeah.
others. And that's like, and I think giving back and contributing, it elevates you to a whole different fulfillment level of, why we're here on this earth. When we start doing that, we get out of our own pain and we can put it
Yeah.
on something else, and we don't have time to like sit there in it, because when you do that, that's why you just got to get up and move. Like that's what Tony Robbins said us that, like, like it's like the try it, get up and just change from where if you're sitting and you're down, just get up and walk in the other room and just do something different to break that, because we can just sit in it too long. It's so true.
Yeah. Yeah, and then I think also it comes to this point, which I see all the time, which is getting out of your comfort zone,
Hmm.
right? So many of us are comfortable doing what we're doing, and leaving that comfort zone is a very scary place for people,
Yeah.
right? So it's, my background, my story we share on the show, but I came from corporate America to, a cushy, and not a cushy job, but a well-paying job, but I was not satisfied. I was not happy, and then going through a rough divorce and then raising two kids on my own and then trying to get this thing off the ground. It was a 6-year journey to get to this point. And the interesting part of that is I would never trade it ever again. I would never go back and say, I want to do it differently. No,
Hmm.
because it shapes you into the person you are. And now we just lean into discomfort all the time. If there's an uncomfortable situation, okay, that's great. We're okay with it. We'll deal with it. And it's exciting. You just look at it
Yes.
as very
Yeah.
much,
Yeah,
it's
I
like
feel
an
like
excitement factor.
yeah, it is. I grew up, my dad was in the military, so we had to move every year. I moved like 16 times before I was 14. So it was
Wow.
a
Yeah.
lot of like I feel like a chameleon, you have to adapt all the time to constantly,
Yep.
change. And it was
Mhm.
scary. I was like in different schools all the time. I had a lot of I grew up really anxious, had a lot of anxiety, like
Yeah.
been through that over the years, but it took me a long time. So people don't know how much things can, be part of you, but you don't let them be you anymore. But I did have, like taking tests or doing anything. It was like everything was just like, so I'd be a perfectionist. And I think
Mhm.
I've learned through the life coaching and going through it all that I don't have to, done is better, progress over perfection, and just not
Yes.
and just not
Yeah.
like being so concerned about people pleasing and just being really yourself. I think that's just really helped me to get over a lot of things that I want to help people do, because otherwise we just don't make a move and we just sit and just hide. We hide behind everything, so it's just like it's just teaching everybody that anybody can do what they put their mind to, you know.
No, I love that. My acting coach, I do a lot of acting still, said progress, not perfection, all the time. So I love that. That's a great tool. But I think the biggest, one of the biggest takeaways I've seen in my journey, and I see with your journey, is that try everything. Like you were a nurse,
Mhm.
and you did that. And I'm sure you've helped a lot of people. It was very fulfilling in so many ways. But now you're trying this whole new venture, and it's scary. You don't know sometimes, like, what am I doing? You sometimes feel like you have imposter syndrome. All these things run through your head. But I think entrepreneurs are one of the greatest examples of really leaning into the unknown and leaning into fear.
Yeah.
And that is every day is different. Like, I don't know what's going to happen every day, honestly. And I
Figure
like
it
it
out
like
as we
that.
go, right? We figure it
Yeah,
out as we
exactly.
go.
Yeah, we always say, like, my whole team is like myself, uh, being an entrepreneur, my director, Michael May, he's an entrepreneur, became a filmmaker, and Melanie Warner, who's working with us on our team as well. Guess what? She's an entrepreneur. And you know what? All of us jumped out of the airplane and built the parachute on the way down,
Yeah.
right? That's what we're
Yep.
always doing.
That's right. That's how we do it.
So, so it's crazy. And so being an entrepreneur is great mental toughness. And, for those of the people out there who work the 9 to 5 jobs, nothing wrong with that. If that's what you're happy with doing, do that. But get out of your comfort zone. Get out
Mhm.
of your comfort zone, because I just recently, and I'll share this, is I got 2 calls yesterday, and
Mhm.
that is, one person had died recently because we're going to Thanksgiving, and we thought we are gonna see this person, but they had died unexpectedly. Then
Mhm.
another person got cancer, we found out. So it was a day filled with just seeing, wow, life can change on you on an instant, right?
Life can change
And
on an instant. It really can. And
right,
it's what we do about, embracing what, our journey while we're here, and what impact we're making while we're
mhm,
here. I
yeah,
just last month I was going, getting my skin checked. And, we go, you're supposed to go to the dermatologist every year to get, because skin's our
yeah,
biggest organ. We have to get it checked out. But I'm just sharing this just for people out there. We all get little moles or have little things, and nothing that looked, I inspect everything. Nothing looked really abnormal, but the doctor's like, let me just take a look at that. And he did like a little biopsy and said, that's melanoma. He says, if we don't
mm,
do this like right now, this could be 8 weeks. This could be a whole different story for you. Like, I mean, how quickly it can
wow,
spread. And I didn't even know I even had it. There was no size, shape, any real symptoms with it. So that kind of just put me in like, we have to constantly be, taking action and not just sitting back and, well, I don't feel like going back today to do this. I had to go right in that day and,
Hmm.
get it done. And I'm thankful that I have, chances. But if we hide behind what we need to do for our bodies, then things we don't always have that second chance. So just for everybody
Yeah.
to, keep up with
Yeah.
doing the maintenance on our, taking care of ourselves and not just, the foods, but like all these, the sun's
Mhm.
great, but we have to, take precautions with everything, but I'm not going to like not go on my walks now because of the sun. I'm like, nope, just got to go back in and
Yeah.
get out
No,
and
I
do
think
it.
it's a great story about how you think about what you've been through with your previous issues, being in the hospital bed, and you know, it created all this mental toughness within you, so that now that you've got this diagnosis, which you're taking care of now, thankfully, you didn't roll back into fear. You just said, I'm just going to push forward. I know what I got to do. I'm just going to make it happen. So I think that's the thing. What people sometimes don't realize is that when they say, why is this happening to me? Why am I going through this? Because it's trying to shape you. It's trying to mold you into a better version of yourself. Right.
And it
So,
makes you just look at how quickly, life is fast. And so it's like we want to just really embrace it and just,
mhm.
enjoy it while we're, and the people and the things that really, the relationships and things that really matter. So I think when
Yeah.
people are too stuck on their work, like too focused in on one thing, it's like you got to look at all the beauty around with everything too, even things that aren't fun to go through. But there's like you said, there's learning and growing in that part too.
Mhm. So I could keep talking to you, honestly. And this is such a great conversation. Easy to talk to. I can see why you're such a successful life coach. And we're so excited to have you on season two. So that being said, I want to make sure the audience knows how to connect with you. So do you have a website that they can reach out to and connect with you?
I sure do, and it's really easy. It's just SonyaMcDonald.com,
Okay.
SONYA McDonald.com. That's my website, and everything's on there for you can connect with me on there. We can do I offer like a discovery call so I can really get to know you, and we can spend like, some time just talking and getting to know each other so we can see if, what I can help you with. So that's one really great way to connect with me.
Okay. Is your social media channels on there as
Yeah.
well?
Actually, they are. No, they're not.
Okay.
It's,
Okay. What's the most popular social media channel for you that people can connect with you on?
I would say my Facebook and Instagram but Facebook
Okay.
mostly, and then also I have LinkedIn. But
Okay. Very good. Very good. And then I remember you saying you had a book. Is that correct?
I was I just finished in an anthology book. It's called My Unforgettable: Personal Stories
Nice.
That Will Inspire You. There's a few other different authors that are in it with me as well, and I did that through She Rises Studios, and it just came out last month, and you can get that on Amazon. The link I can supply that later, but it's on
Sure.
Amazon.
Yeah.
And there's like a lot of different women, and we're all just writing about our resiliency stories and how to help people. My story's in there about when I was in the hospital, but it just kind of shares a little part of all of us. And all my coaching, all my connections are on there as well, all my links in the
Oh,
book.
very good. So, since last time I saw you and talked to you at the Emmy Gifting Suite, what have you been doing? Where can people find you? What's your next appearance?
My next appearance, oh boy, I got some appearances coming up. I'm gonna be speaking on a summit, an empowerment content day summit in February, and that'll be in Las
Nice.
Vegas. And I will be going to the Oscars gifting suite in
Oh,
February
wow.
in Los Angeles. And
Nice.
so I'm going to be doing
There you go.
some interviews with some celebrities there. So
Excellent.
I don't have the exact time and everything for that, but it'll be like later in February.
That's awesome. That's
I'm
amazing.
really excited
S-
about that.
Yeah, no, I mean, you went from Emmys to Oscars. That's a
Yeah,
great
it's
progression.
really exciting just to kind of get back in there and just to really learn about people. I love
Mhm.
connecting and learning and talking to people and getting to know like what all their journeys are as well. So it's just really fun to give back and to be in that as well. And I'm going to
Well,
be
so
writing
you're gonna.
a solo book by next
Oh, okay.
July. I'm just putting that together. So it's just going to be more of my whole journey, not just a little part of it. So I'll be able to
Yeah.
share about myself in that. So I'm excited about that as well.
No, this is all fantastic stuff. So we've got the speaking, you've got the appearance at the Oscar gifting suite, you've got your website. Share the website one more time for us, just so nobody misses it.
Just www.sonyamcdonald.com. Just my name. So it's really, really easy to get me
So
on there.
I would implore everybody, and that is, it's just a really tumultuous time right now. Like I said, we've got a lot of things going on between the election being over, between all COVID still around, between our family, the holidays are coming.
So
In
many.
my book, I call them the landmine months, which are the
I like
holiday,
that.
which is you could step in it and you could just blow up in your face in so many different ways, right?
Yeah.
So I would implore our audience to reach out to Sonya, and she can give you some tips and tools to really be more resilient. Her story is amazing. You can clearly see she's overcome so much. So I want to thank you for the time. Thank you so much for working with us and being on the show. And we can't wait to share your message with such a wide audience globally
I
when we
cannot
launch the show.
wait. And thank you so much for having me here. And I'm so excited to be, speaking and being on your show and just being part of this with you and your community. So thank you for having
Awesome.
me.
Awesome. Well, guys, thank you for joining us for another episode of Recipe for Wellness, and catch us again next time, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Awesome.